love it, Uzair. Liverpool.
Yeah.
Not a lot of action, not a lot of signings, but uh, important signings, I would say. Like they addressed the issues that the team had, and Liverpool are, of course, an excellent team, and not a lot of changes were needed. But we saw Nunez arrive, followed by Calvin Ramsay, and finally Arthur on the final day. So, Zaid, what are your thoughts on the window?
So yeah, our famous front three was broken up finally. It
Yeah,
was a
that was
good
a
it
little
was a
sad.
good good time, five years or so. And
Yeah.
Mane, he'd apparently he had decided last season itself that he wanted to leave. So you can't really force a player to stay when he's decided that he needs a new
True.
challenge. So we had to move him on. So we had to move him on, and then we've signed Nunez as his so-called replacement for an and he'll be like an out and out number nine. He's impressed me. He impressed me against City. He needs to try and keep his cool. We're literally playing Everton tomorrow, which
Mm-hmm.
is going to be a hot-headed atmosphere that he needs to try. That will be a good test for him.
Mm-hmm.
Nunes for 80 million. There were questions on his price, but his age is there, and yeah, like whenever Liverpool have spent plenty for Van Dijk and Allison. It's always paid off. So fingers crossed it pays off for Nunes also.
Keita.
Then yeah, Keita. I
No, no,
mean,
I'm
yeah,
just
that was
kidding.
one failed signing. To be fair,
Mm-hmm.
he had high expectations. He carried on to get the number eight shot from Gerrard, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not really lived up. But yeah, even this season you could see that he was one fit player, and right before the United game, they called him as an injury, but they didn't really explain what his injury was. So I don't know what's the behind the scenes process behind Keita. I think he will leave next season
Mm-hmm.
because Klopp doesn't trust him as much. But then he's a really good player in my opinion. Against United last season when we won 5-0 over there, he had a brilliant game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Keita, yeah, he wasn't good. And then yeah, we've gotten rid of our so-called uh what do you say, the cult of hero
Origi.
in
Mm-hmm.
Divock Origi, yeah.
Yeah.
And so we've lost that, what do you say,
Clutch
those
player.
clutch moments from him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He was literally the definition of clutch. So to get rid of two attackers and three if you include Minamino also,
Mm-hmm.
like Origi and Minamino, they pitched in whenever we had all these cup games. So that will be a huge miss in my opinion because we don't really have those fringe players that can just slot into the cup games and
Mm-hmm.
really deliver. Because last season, if you remember, if you see, we literally won the only cups that were there.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, Nico Williams was moved on, and we replaced him with Calvin Ramsey. A really
Mm-hmm.
good signing. I mean, really like Nico Williams wanted to move on
Yeah.
for play time,
Yeah. And actually, you can see him
and
play really well for Nottingham Forest in like the
yeah,
recent games. Like going forward defensively, he's been really good. So I think personally for him, it was the right step for him.
that wing
And
back role of him for him really suits him because he
yeah.
plays. Sometimes he plays as a right mid for Wales in a 4-4-2 also,
Mm-hmm.
and he really um, shines in that position. But right back, he wasn't really. They couldn't really use him as a Trent backup. So
Yeah.
he wanted to
And
move on. He needed game time for the World Cup. So
hmm. And as for Arthur, what are your thoughts on his signing?
oh yeah, midfield was one huge issue that we needed, and this final transfer it also happened because Hendo was called injured the last
Mm-hmm.
game, which was
Yeah.
questionable. Kind of like mm, how do you say, uh, immediate signing, but
Yeah.
Arthur he's good. Even in his time in Barca, Juventus, there were a few injuries, but he has a few, what do you say, disciplinary issues. I've heard
Mm.
because he
Mm-hmm.
missed a game for Juventus because he tested positive for an STD, which was like, bro.
Well,
Yeah,
I don't know, I can't say much about his personal life, but like, at least on the pitch, during his time at Barca, I think he really was sort of a letdown, to be honest, because I don't know, maybe it was just he was hyped so much when he came. Yeah, I think he came straight from Gremio. So
One of the Brazil teams, if I remember
yeah, yeah,
correctly.
yeah. So he came from there, and there was sort of like, he's gonna be the next Xavi, he's gonna run the midfield, and he's this
Yeah,
passing metronome. Like, honestly, like the player I can relate to him to based on his playing style the most is probably Rabio. Like,
yeah,
he
Mm,
is like, of course, he'll get on the ball and he can pass the ball around, but the thing with him is that he doesn't have great numbers in anything, but he is like middling in everything. So he's
oh,
not like exceptionally good at tackling or intercepting, or he's not going to put in like three, four creative pass, like, the key passes per game, but he'll be consistently have like, 1.5 to 2 of everything. So if,
mm,
sort of maybe if Thiago plays like the more creative role and is given the freedom to go forward and link up with the forwards, it could work out. But I think I just feel like this is sort of like a stopgap signing because I know that Liverpool, like Chouameni was the player they wanted in midfield, and well, when Madrid comes in and they just throw
yeah,
100 million on the table, there's not much you can do. And
yeah,
I really respect the fact that they stuck to their guns and they were like, this is the price we value him at, and this is what it is. Like, if we are not gonna match Madrid and sort of, get into a bidding war. And I think they're sort of saving up for Bellingham, if I'm not wrong. Like,
yeah,
that
exactly,
big
exactly.
signing for next summer.
In that
Uh,
way, I think this is
yeah,
like the perfect signing for them, to
yeah,
be honest, because it's like a
exactly.
loan deal. And
Mhm.
it's not like Thiago and Henderson are going to be out forever. Right? They're eventually going to come back, and eventually Liverpool is going to get their midfield back. So, like Arthur he can be steady. Maybe he's not spectacular, but he can do the job for
Mhm.
Liverpool. And if they'd signed, let's say, another player and they shelled out heavy bucks for him, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have been able to go for Jude Bellingham. And like now, at least there's a clear plan. It feels like okay, next season they're going to go all out for Jude Bellingham. He's going to be that signing for them in that window. And
yeah,
just coming back to the Mane bit, I feel like that's
Mhm.
one of the best things that could have happened to Liverpool, to be honest. Not Mane leaving, but him leaving that early and deciding the previous season so that he'd be leaving because Liverpool had enough
yeah.
time after that to
Yeah.
get there because the transfer happened pretty quick. I think it happened the first week of June
It
itself.
happened. Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Well,
and
I
then
think,
immediately, yeah,
no, sorry, go ahead. Like, finish up.
The rumor started right after the Champions League final itself, if I remember
yeah,
correctly. I was like,
Mhm.
bro, we've just lost the Champions League final. Why do you want
all
to
the time.
fire to the whole?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
felt like, with it was like all the indications were pointing towards Mane's exit, like given that
Mm,
Luis Diaz had come in January and he
yeah,
mm,
was like being a right footed, he was going to play on that left side. So, he started competing with Mane directly. And yeah, that's what I think. Mane was really, of course, he's a really nice guy, really respectful towards the club and sort of helped the
yeah.
club plan ahead and get the Nunez deal in. Just like finally, do you think it was like, the 80 million for him, for a player coming from the Portuguese league and,
yeah.
him sort of delivering only like one season? Because like it was the last season where he was exceptional, and before that, again, he was sort of like, 5 goals, 6 assists, something like that. Those were his numbers. So do you think this gamble is gonna be worth it? And are you like, what are your thoughts on that?
So last season we played Benfica, and Nunes was one striker who had given both our centre backs issues, and there was not any other striker that has managed to do that, especially last season. Van Dijk and Konate, they had problems handling him.
Mm-hmm.
So Pep Linders in his book he had written how when he played Benfica, how Nunes gave all these problems, and they were like, this is one player that we need to keep an eye on. And his age is really low. He's like 23, 24, if I
Yeah,
remember
23.
correctly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and and we know Klopp works his magic on players. They can always develop them. This is
Mm-hmm.
like this is probably the first out and out striker Klopp has signed,
Mm.
and
Yeah, true. I think
this will
Firmino
see.
was there before Klopp arrived, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And
he came under Brendan Rodgers.
Firmino is a cam converted into a
Uh-huh.
false nine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we've not really signed a number nine per se.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how it plans out. But The games I've
It's a very
seen,
unlike
especially,
yeah, sorry, go. Like it's very unlike a Liverpool signing, to be honest. Like the money involved and then the position and everything. But
yeah,
then, Liverpool over the years have been masters of the transfer window. They've gotten almost every transfer spot on. So I do think like Nunes is a brilliant talent, even though he did it only for one season for Benfica. I
Hmm.
feel like he
yeah,
will come good because Liverpool do the scouting well. And like we saw initially, right? He played really well against City, and then he came
Yeah.
on against Fulham, and he
and he
scored
changed the game against Fulham.
equalizer.
Yeah,
Yeah, he changed the game, and yeah, I think like Liverpool will desperately need him in this campaign. So he's not just going to play a bit part role. It's not going to be rotation constantly. I think with the games coming up thick and fast, I think all players will be required. Like for example, Fabio Carvalho, like
Hmm.
he's
Fabio
also been a
Carvalho is
big.
a yeah, he's a
Yeah,
solid
he has two
signing. Yeah,
goals already. He has two goals already, and
Yeah.
he snuck in this winner, the 98th minute, the dodgy winner
yeah,
at in the 98th winner, the 90th minute, and but like it just shows how Liverpool players, as soon as they sign, they just hit the ground running.
Yeah.
Same thing
True.
happened with Diego Jota as well. He just
Yeah.
signed for goals, and the next thing you know, he has 10 goals or something to his name.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Okay. So now that we've, sort of covered all the transfers, what's your overall grade A to F for Liverpool's transfer window?
um, I would have personally liked another midfielder in because I
Mhm.
don't really trust Henderson and Milner as a 36-year-old starting games for Liverpool at the top end of this at the top flight is just not how you need to go. And when your best players are 19-year-old in Harvey Elliott, I
Mhm.
don't know. I'd say we needed a couple of midfielders in that 24, 25 range, where the age is at. But I'd say a B minus. It would have been a solid C if it was if they hadn't signed Arthur Miller,
True.
because yeah, even that they needed Hendo to get injured for them to move on Arthur. But other than that, yeah, I'd say we miss Minamino and Origi in the cup games.
Mhm.
Carvalho is a good signing, but yeah, we're going through a transition period. So our forward line has changed completely. Our midfield needs a little revamping because Thiago, Fabinho, and Henderson are above 30, and yeah, so we need
Okay.
to revamp our midfield. But other than that, yeah, it's been solid.
Okay.
I'll say a
Okay.
B
Now,
minus. Yeah.